Good afternoon or evening or morning or whenever you're watching this. It's story time again. And this time, as I promised, I'm going to talk about my daughter. Now, I know as a parent and a grandparent, you always want to share things, and sometimes you invite people over to your house so you can show them pictures of your grandchild, and they're kind of trapped there, because what are they going to do? And or you catch them in the store and say, "Oh, let me show you some pictures of my grandbaby. Oh, she's so smart. This is the smartest 2-year-old on the planet." And you just kind of grin and go like, "Wish she'd shut up, okay? Because I need to go." Well, the beauty of this is that if you get bored and your eyes start to glaze over, you can push the pause button, and then you can come back and watch the rest later. So I think that's a good thing. And so I wanted to talk to you about my wonderful daughter. And her name is Jennifer. And so I have decided to do this by categories. It was a very difficult thing deciding how to do it. Do I do it chronologically? Do I do it, by categories? And then I thought I only had a few, and then as I'm thinking about it, there's more and more stories, so it was really hard to choose. So I also did call and ask her if there were any stories that she definitely did not want me to share, and she didn't say no, so here we go. So first of all, I'll start with some games that we used to play when we were little. I don't know if you call them games. It was a good way for me to get personal care and for her to play. So I would sit on the couch, and then she would proceed to play with my hair. Sometimes she'd comb it, sometimes she'd brush it, sometimes she just used her hands, and usually I had to untangle it when she was done. But it felt so good when she did it, I didn't care. The other game we used to play, again, this is a mother's way to just kind of relax, was ragdoll, where I basically would sit limp on the couch, and then she would push and tug and shove or whatever. I let her do whatever she wanted to do, and it just felt good. So I thought, this is a good thing. I like this. So those were just some little games that we did. The next section is education. So I would say her art education started early, very early. I was at a sorority meeting, for which I was very grateful. I don't know if she had had a diaper rash or what, but her dad was there with her, and she woke up, and he didn't go in right away because, well, she didn't cry. She was seemingly very content, and so he didn't, stress about it. When he did go in, he found that she was finger painting with her own created materials on the wall, on the crib, on herself, and he just picked her up and scooped her up and said, "Oh, baby, it's going to be okay." I wished I'd had a picture of that. And I hope you figured out what the creative materials were. So, from her body, okay, if that needs you any further help. Brown, if that helps anymore. So, that was her art education. Later on, when she was able to talk, she was trying to gather all the information she could about lights or anything, and the first thing out of her mouth in the morning would be, "What's that? What's that? What's that?" It's a light. It's another light. It's a flashlight. So she was gathering all the information that she possibly could. Her first word to learn to read was the word red. Someone in their kindness, gave her a box of 64 crayons. So she was coloring and she came in. She says, "Is this red?" I said, "No, it's vermilion." She brought another one. "Is this red?" I said, "No, it's red violet." "Is this red?" "No, it's crimson." "Is this red?" "No, it's red orange." And finally, with great exasperation, she says, "Well, will you teach me the word red so I'll know?" So I did, and that was her first word to learn to read. Now, reading is a wonderful skill, but sometimes, there's things you wish they hadn't read. We were going to the movies, and I went over to the convenience store because I was going to buy some goodies to put in my purse for us to eat. And she said, "Doesn't it say you're not supposed to take food in?" So I had the choice to make to just go ahead and do it anyway. But in trying to set an example for my daughter, I said, "Yes, it does. And who taught you to read?" So that was a pricey lesson, but, it was worth it, I guess. Now, sometimes when they're growing, you think that, when they're little, they say all these wonderful, cute things, and you don't really think of them saying such cute things as they get older. But when she was in 6th grade, she had to do a report on a particular character. Now, if you're very young and you're listening to this, there was no Google. There was no Wikipedia. We actually had encyclopedias, which are sets of books, all listed alphabetically, covering all sorts of topics. So she was really perplexed because she couldn't find this person in the encyclopedia. And so I said, "So who is it?" She said, "Cleopatra." I said, "Well, she should be there." I said, "What are you looking under?" She said, "P." I said, "P?" She said, "Yeah, for her last name." I loved it. I thought, okay, you could still do the cute stuff. Okay, now, she's also very wise, sometimes beyond her years. And she was giving me parenting tips. These are 2 examples. She was little. I was like maybe 3, something like that, 2, 3. And she was in the bathroom. I was in the kitchen. And she was taking the handle of the hamper and banging it against the side of the hamper. I knew where she was. It was no big deal. I wasn't concerned. And then I heard this little voice say, "Mommy, say Jennifer, stop making that noise." So I said it. "Jennifer, stop making that noise." She said, "Okay," and came out like, "Lady, are you not paying any attention at all?" Another time we were going to go on a trip on the following day, and she wanted to stay up and watch a program. And against my better judgment, I let her do that. In the morning, it was very difficult getting her to get up. And I said, "Well, it's because you watched that program last night." She says, "Well, you shouldn't have let me." I said, "Thank you, I will remember that." So she was always giving me little parenting hints and tips. Jennifer also had a thing for the underdog. She just, a cause, and one of her causes was her little brother, and nobody was going to mess with him. So one day she was lying in the recliner. She wasn't feeling well that day. She had a blanket pulled up all up to her, covering her chest, and 2 little girls knocked at the door with Michael, and they said, "We think he needs to come in because the boys are calling him names." Well, Jennifer leaped out of that chair and ran out into the street because she was going to take care of it. She thought for sure it was the N-word. But she went out there and she let him know, "You're not going to, don't talk to my baby brother like that." So when she came in, she got back in the recliner. I said, "You took care of it? You handled it?" She said, "Yeah, and they won't do it again." I said, "Well, that's good." And I said, "Michael, tell Jennifer what they called you." He said, "Pig face." She she took that blanket, pulled it up over her head, and she just shook with laughter. She got pig face. Okay. But I bet they didn't call him that again either. When she was a teenager, she saw on my prayer list Jennifer Salvation, and she got really upset with me. She said, "You don't think I'm saved?" I said, "Well, not really seeing much evidence." And so she was really annoyed at that. Well, we went to a Crystal Lewis concert, and when they offered the people to come up for salvation, Jennifer was up there like a shot, and I was thrilled. On the way home, however, she saw a man lying on the sidewalk. She wanted me to pull over so that we could help him. And I was like, "I don't think that I want to do that. And there'll probably be somebody else who'll come along and do it." Her response was, "Well, I'm ready to die, so we can do it." And I thought, well, you may be ready to die. I'm not. And I'm not ready for you to die either. But she was ready, you know. She was saved. She knew where she was going to go. And yeah, I'll help anybody, and because I know where I'm going. This is the one that I thought she might not want me to tell you about, but since she did not offer any censorship, when she was growing up, she had bloody noses, especially when she was young, and well, through all of the time, because it's so dry here in Nevada. And so one night, it was just awful. I mean, it really was. It was looked like a massacre in the bathroom. And so I said, well, we went to the emergency room. And one time we had taken her and they had cauterized her nose. Well, this time they didn't cauterize it. But what they did do is stick a tampon in her nose. So it did its job. It stopped the bleeding. And the next morning, it was getting late, and I said, "Jennifer, you're not dressed for school." She says, "I'm not going to school." I said, "Well, you're not sick." She said, "I'm Mom. I'm not going to school like this." I said, "Jennifer, I hope you don't expect me to write a note because you are not sick." She said, "I'm not going to school like this." And I told her, I said, "You're pretty popular. You could tie a ring at the end of that string and maybe form a creative fad." I said, "Or we could make a poster and saying, 'This is what using cocaine will do to you.'" She just looked at me like I was crazy and basically said, "I'm not going to school." And she didn't go to school. And I really didn't expect her to, but you got to mess with people sometimes. So one of the things we both share is a sense of humor. And she picks up on things real easily. So one time her father came home and we were sitting on the hood of the car, my car, looking at the garage door, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, can't you see? There's a cartoon. We're watching the cartoon." And then we would laugh, and he was like, "Okay, whatever." One of my favorite things though, was that when she was getting ready to turn 13, I went to her room the night before, and I said, "I just wanted to come and say goodbye." And she said, "Goodbye?" I said, "Yes, you've been a wonderful child, and I've enjoyed knowing you and raising you, and I just, you're going to be some teenager tomorrow, and I don't know what that's going to be like, but you've been wonderful, and I'm going to miss you." And so in the morning, she got up, she put on some very strange outfit, and she comes out of her room and says, "Hey, I'm the replacement. And I thought, oh, Lord, here we go. So she is just a joy and a delight. One little minor thing I forgot to mention, she had an imaginary friend. I had never had an imaginary friend to my knowledge, but she did, and it was a lion. And this lion would be different sizes at different times, and it would be in her crib or wherever. But as I was doing this and looking at all of these different things about her as a child, I was looking and thinking about how they are reflected in her as an adult. And one thing is, she is an excellent parent. So she gave me advice, and she uses her own advice. She is still definitely a champion for the underdog. I would call her a lioness. Maybe that's why she had an imaginary friend who was a lion. She has a passion for helping people who are hurt or have a problem. She continues to learn new things and make new things and try new things, and I love that about her. And this one, I don't think she realizes, but deep in the recesses of her mind, I think that Ragdoll has transferred into Thai massage. That's my thought. I could be wrong, but I think so, because she gets to pull and tug and push and knead and whatever she wants to do, and people pay her for that. So, all in all, she is an absolutely wonderful person, and I do want to be like her when I grow up. And I hope that you know her. And if you do, you're blessed like I am. So that's it for today. What I would like is if you have some story that you particularly like about your kids, please put it in the comments. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one with the education. And this was so good. It was a day that I knew that she had understood the concept of plural S, because she came to me and she said, Mom, I hung up my clo. I said, your clo? She said, yes, there was only one. I said, my child is a genius. And, well, she may not be a genius, she's really smart and really a wonderful person. So, I hope you enjoyed this. Please share some stories of your kids in comments. And like I said, the pause button is always so good if someone's just going to go on and on and on. Also, the subscribe button is really good too. Push on that so that you'll know when the next ones are coming up. Have a wonderful, blessed rest of your day. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.